The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Rapid Sales Accelerator. If you're ready to skyrocket your sales by 30% or more in just 90 days, then you need to claim your free training right now. You'll learn 4 words that will compel your prospects to trust you like they were children within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any conversation across any platform and any medium. You'll learn how to give your prospects objection amnesia, to crush objections like, I need to talk to my spouse, or I need more time to think it over, or it's too expensive. And finally, you'll get a free recorded audio training that will install unbelievable attitudes for success and wipe out any limiting beliefs. So if you'd like to claim your free training now, go to www.paulrossbook.com. Do it before your competition does it now. Welcome to the Influencer's Edge. This is the place where you come to get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques to leapfrog over the pack in sales, persuasion, and influence. Be sure you visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now sit back, tune in, and enjoy today's episode. Nope, it's not.
Hey, I've been married for 17 years, so I got to be careful, but I'm happy to talk.
All right. Well, we're recording and Oscar's already talking. I love it. We've been having an interesting off-the-air conversation. So our guest today is Oscar. You pronounce your last name.
Subirats.
And Oscar is the author of a really good book. I turned off my cheesy background so I could show you guys that I have the book. I love the book. So Oscar, welcome to the show. We ask our guests to submit a short bio. Obviously, he didn't follow instructions because this thing is fucking 5 paragraphs. So I'm just going to go through a little bit and then you
Very short. You don't have to do the whole thing. I'm fine with it.
I'm already having a
I didn't know what to put.
This is already going to be one of my most fun shows ever. So Oscar has been in direct sales for nearly 20 plus years. You don't look like you're old enough to have done anything for 20 plus years, young man. Born in Mexico City. That's, what is it, 20 million people there? 30 million people in Mexico City?
20-something million. Yeah, I mean.
Crazy. When Oscar was 2 years old, he was blessed to have his father's employer, a major oil corporation, transfer the family from Mexico to Texas, which set the foundation for his life. In over 2 decades, Oscar has gone from the deepest trenches of sales. What are we talking about? Deepest trenches, like door to door?
We're talking about where you start knocking on doors, transactional sales. No, get out of my face. The trenches of sales, baby.
Sounds like my dating life before I created my stuff.
Well, you know what? The dating life is the trenches of sales at the end of the day. I mean, you're going to get a lot of no's.
Well, depends on if you got game or not, my friend.
Well, that's true.
In over 2 decades, you've gone from the deepest trenches of sales to training hundreds of salespeople to building a multinational corporation. That's amazing. His passion is helping people, leaders, salespeople, and non-salespeople succeed and grow, impacting the lives of others through teaching, speaking, and books. Speaking of which, I don't know if you have any other books besides this one, but Oscar, but he's the author of this wonderful book, Closing Intelligence. As soon as I saw he was going to be on the show, I ran out and got it. Of course, I'm busy reading comic books, so fuck the book. No, there's some great things in here. It's really, really good. I want to dive into it, but first of all, I want to ask you something else, and then we'll get into the book.
Go ahead.
Your way of thinking is not the typical normal way of thinking about sales. The traditional way of sales is not what you're teaching at all, which I think is what's valuable in it. However, you have to be able to come up with something outside of the norm. You have to give yourself permission to think outside the box, or you have to have taken so many bumps that you invented out of necessity. So how the hell did you come up with this? We'll get into what you came up with and why people have to use it and how it can improve their sales careers. How did you come up with it? What was your process? Was it a download or did you work on it over time?
Well, what happens, Paul, is that I've been in sales, direct sales, or high ticket sales, or what different kinds of sales my whole life. And ultimately, what ends up happening is most sales books, most sales gurus, most great salespeople are personality based. I mean, they are, they have a specific way of doing things that works for them. And most of the time, they can't reproduce or clone themselves. And I have those traits, just like Paul, you have those traits. And a lot of the people that you have on the show have these traits. And so what sales gurus usually try to do is basically train others a personality based training. And over time, I realized that, I can't clone myself. All I can do is what are those things that top salespeople like you, like me, like others do that can be teachable, can be in a way clonable to others that don't have necessarily those traits. And so what ends up happening with salespeople is that they learn by trial and error. But if you ask a top salesman, hey, how do you sell? Most of them have no idea. They're just
I
like, well, I
don't.
sell. And so what I did is I created a structure that allows you to reproduce, clone, all across an organization, those skills and abilities that the 1% of salespeople have. So if you're really good, you're going to get better. If you're just starting, you're going to get good. But if you're a top producer, you're going to become a rock star. So does that answer kind of the question?
Almost. You said you created. No, 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 no. I love your personality. It almost does. But you said you created a structure. I'm going to dig down a little bit. How did you
Go
create
ahead.
the structure? Did it just flow out of you one day like a Mozart composition? Or was it trial? I'm not being funny, I'm serious. Or was it
Yeah.
trial and error? What was your process, your procedure for creating it? Because you come up with something that's non-standard, that's outside traditional ways of thinking, and it will bear fruit for the audience, for them to find out how you came up with this.
Well, I really came up with it through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of, like I said, starting in the trenches, being in transactional sales, and putting myself in the position to sell different things. And as I've run entire companies, I've run entire sales teams, I've helped other companies grow their sales teams. And what I realized is that there had to be a structure that could be created that really is non-traditional, but it really is those skills and those abilities that may turn you into an awesome person to get people to say yes. So what I did is, yes, I really, it kind of, you could say it came down to me from from prayer or whatever you want to say. But at the end of the day, it really is not based on theory or neuroscience. It really just is based on reality,
I
how the
love that.
world really
I love
does
that.
know, being in front of, seeing salespeople in front of hundreds of people, being hundreds of people, and really saying, okay, what doesn't work? How do humans really behave? Don't give me the psychology, don't give me the theory like most books, but how does the world really work? How do humans really think and in the real world? And how do you get them to say yes? And really, that's the structure that I put together. I broke down the sale and I said, okay, how can you put that into a structure that you can teach, where someone can sit in front of someone in any industry, in any sales situation, and say, if I go through this structure and I don't have to recreate the narrative every time, I don't have to think about how am I going to make the sale. I can really look at sales as a structure where if I do a certain process, usually it's going to lead to a no, but I can learn to overcome that no into a yes. Is really what I've done. It's a
Right. So
step-by-step strategy.
it's it's
Go
a,
ahead.
it's a structure and a system rather than showing people how to take on the qualities of an excellent salesperson, being super enthusiastic or motivated or any of the rest of that bullshit, which is why I like it. So let's talk about the intent statement, because this applies to dating too. I don't want to make it about the dating, but it does. Talk about the intent statement, because I'm just taking it straight from the
Yeah,
book.
well, that's what it is. So again, breaking down what from the sales process. So when people look at that book, they think, oh, this is all just about closing. No, the sales process is from the very first moment that you pick up the phone or talk to someone. So closing intelligence encompasses the entire sales process from the moment that you talk to someone. So what is the intent statement? The intent statement is simply saying from the very beginning in your world, what is your intention with the young lady that you're about to talk to, without going through a whole process and then they say, well, I didn't even know that you were trying to court me. I mean, we could say something silly like that, But in the sales world, it's no different. It's you sitting in front of someone and telling them from the very beginning, look, this is what we're going to do. This is how much time we're going to spend together. These are the questions I'm kind of going to lead us through. I'm just trying to see if there's a fit for us to work together. And if there is, at the end of the process, we'll figure out what the next step is, or the next step is really just setting the foundation for both people to really be able to say, you know what, let's spend the time together, because you're not trying to sell me. You're not trying to pitch me. You really just want to spend time with me in a conversation that's going to allow us both to see if there's an opportunity for us to work together.
I really like it, because then the other person doesn't have to figure out when is he going to hit me with, here's the contract.
Exactly.
But what credit card would you like to use? Or would you like the payment plan? Or do you want to pay?
What happens, Paul, is most of the time, you've had it before. Somebody calls you and you're like, how long is this going to last? What are they trying to get at? What is this? Are they going to sell me? Is this a coaching call? Is it a consulting call? Is it a customer service call? Like, what is this?
Of course.
And so people automatically tune out. But it's very simple. The intent statement is a quick 30-second process that sets the stage, sets the tone, what's going to happen, how long is it going to take, what to expect. And then you simply say, hey, are you ready to spend 5 minutes together, 1 minute together, 15 minutes together?
Yeah.
And in your world, it's actually how I met my wife. I actually did an intent statement with my wife.
Oh, geez.
17
You
years
got to
ago
tell this
when I did
story.
this.
First of all, pause button. When he says,
it's in the book.
Pause button.
It's in the book.
Pause button. Pause button. So it's an open secret to my audience that my other identity is Ross Jeffries, the king of seduction and getting laid. Everyone knows that. And he's right. There is a similar thing, but I want to know, what did you do with your wife? What was your intent statement?
Well, first of all, I'm inviting you to read the book. Well, I know you've read it, but
I read it, but I want you guys.
Because I have the story in there, but it's very simple. It's very simple. We met abroad. She wasn't buying what I was selling. Courted 1,000 times by another guy. She's a beautiful girl, way above my league. Even though I'm not too bad looking, but way above my league. And I simply did an intent statement. I simply told her, and it's in the book, from the very beginning, I saw her and I said, look, I just want to spend 5-10 minutes with you. My only objective is for us to talk for 5 minutes and see if we'd like to continue this conversation another time. Maybe go get some coffee and can I have literally 5 minutes of your time? And she said, oh, sure. Why? Because I said 5 minutes. And then from there, it became a different process. I mean, I didn't really say the story right because you're making me nervous. And I know my wife's going to listen to this, but
that's right.
Very clearly.
Just be a man and forbid her from listening. now I'm really.
But it was an intent statement. It was an innocent intent statement of, look, this is how much time we're going to spend together. This is my intention. Are you willing to go on this 5-minute journey with me? And that turned into 17 years of marriage. So it must work.
Well, good on you, man. No, I'm just playing around with you and having a little fun. Hold on a second. I'm so sorry. Put my phone in airplane mode.
Okay. I turned airplane mode on.
I'm so sorry about that. We'll
edit. There you go.
No, we'll edit it out. This is hilarious. You're so fucking funny. Okay. Let's talk about, I'm just looking right at the book. The book tells me what to ask. 4 whys. How closers ask the right questions to read people's hearts. So what are the 4 whys?
So before I get into the 4 whys, and I don't want to do a whole thing on it, but at the end of the day, what ends up happening is I always say salespeople talk. Closers, very well-trained salespeople with a structure, get people to take action, get people to open up, get people, I call it reading the heart. If you're able to get someone to read the heart, then they tell you everything that's in. People love to talk about themselves. So how do you get that's out in the heart that people don't want to talk about? And it's no different than being on an airplane or being in the airport where someone, hi, how are you? What do you do? What kind of questions you ask, and the questions you ask lead them to basically uncover what's in there and want to be your friend or want to do business with you. So the 4 whys really is just asking the right questions, where any sales situation, the buyer is doing 90% of the talking. Why? Because they're revealing what they're thinking. Now, getting that out of there, there's tons of psychology books, tons of neuroscience books that tell you how to do that. What I've done, Paul, is I've eliminated all that BS. I've literally said this is how the way the world works, and this is practical. So some of the reviews on my book for I'd say this is the most practical book on sales I've ever read. Why? Because it just tries to break it down to human nature. So the 4 whys are very simple. In all business, in every business. So if you're listening to this, put your business into this. Any sales situation, any business, any industry, at the end of the day, if the buyer understands 4 things in their mind, they're most likely going to say, okay, yeah, let's do business, or look, I'm really willing to commit to the next level, or something. And what are those 4 whys? At the end of the day, the first why is, why do I even need help? So if your buyer doesn't understand why they need help, and you can't talk people into thinking they need help. You can't pitch
Exactly.
it. So my book is zero pitch. You don't pitch. People hate pitching. They hate pitches. There's no scripts. It's really just understanding a structure. So first is you have to ask the right questions to the buyer for them to say and realize, I need help, right? So that's the first why. Why do I need help? So, the typical salesperson comes to you and says, hey, Paul, you have 5 minutes? And then he just goes then he asks you one question, then he just goes on a pitch. That's a pitch. That's a salesperson. I say in the book that there's a difference between salespeople and closers. Closers ask the right question to get to the heart. So the first why do you need help? Second why is why even your solution or industry. So if I need help, there's 1,000 ways that I can get help. Like, for example, with your dating thing. If I need help with dating, there's 50 other ways that I can get help through the dating process. But your job is to show me why your Paul Ross program is the right solution. And the only way you do that is by asking the right questions to get them to say, well, that makes sense. Maybe a program to help me do that makes sense, even though there's all these other ones. Then the third why is, well, why Paul Ross? So if I know that I need help, and I know that I need some sort of program, there can be 50 other programs.
Of course.
Why Paul Ross's program? And again, it's never you pitching, it's you asking the right questions so that they say, oh, I get it. I understand in my mind why the Paul Ross program will work.
Can I
And then
pause
the
you
last
just
one,
for, let me pause you.
yeah,
I
go
want,
ahead.
no, go ahead and
Yeah.
ask one, then
And then the last one is why today? Why today? At the end of the day, most salespeople, they go through a pitch, they sell and sell and sell, they talk and talk and talk. And at the end of the day, they don't get a commitment and they don't understand the person. Why today? Why do I have to take action today? How is this going to benefit my life? So I simply teach you in the book how to ask the right questions and take through a structure that anybody can do for even non-salespeople to get better at getting yes by asking those questions, and the person saying, you know what? In their mind, they say, well, I do need help. I do understand how you can help me. I understand you, and I understand why today. So what's the next step? So that's basically the 4 whys summed up. Go ahead, because I don't want to rant forever.
No. I think it's brilliant in its simplicity. It's brilliant in its simplicity, and it's brilliant in it being pragmatic, and results-based. You don't have to figure out the theories and all the rest of it.
Right.
Banter through all of that. It cuts right to the chase. I like it. What I was going to say is when you were speaking on that third question, I think Chris Voss. Have you heard of Chris Voss? Never Split the Difference.
Great book, by the way.
I love that book. Well, Chris says something in there. If people are balking at the price, which they normally shouldn't if you do things right, but if they're giving you static, you say, I think you said even say this before that. Even before that, you say, look, there are a lot of people who teach NLP. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. What made you come to me in the first place?
Right.
And so they are going to give you their own reasons why they came to you. And it's based in fact. It's based in fact. There are hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people who offer NLP and that sort of thing. So it just triggered something in my head that said it's similar to something that Chris Voss would teach. And that's
and sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you go.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, and yeah, I mean, the way that he treats it is kind of similar in a way that you can't, and for example, you can't pitch or talk people into, some sort of negotiation situation like he talks in this book. The only thing that you can do, actually does it in his book, is asking the questions so that they come to the realization of their own actions. And that's what I teach you to do, because at the end of the day, salespeople will try to pitch through the person magically saying, "Oh yeah, great, this is what I want." And what ends up happening is, one of your guests actually said that a couple of weeks ago. You'll just be a normal salesperson with a normal closing average. It doesn't do anything to be normal. What I teach people to do is literally read the heart, get to the heart, get to the people saying, you know what? I want to do business with you because I've come to my own realization. So that turns you into what I call a superpower, a super closer, because they want to be your friend. They want to do business with you. They want to close the deal because you've made them realize that that's what they want in their life, not because you talked them into it, but because you asked the right questions for their heart to say, all right, what's the next step?
I love the orientation that it's really allowing your prospects to convince themselves to buy rather than you doing a complex close or a pitch. Yeah, I really like it. There was something that you said that was so profound that kind of like threw me off a gear and put me on pause. But no, it was really no, it was really good. But let's continue to move forward.
All right.
So I know what I wanted to say. So you have this structure for people to follow. What happens when I'll put it another way. A lot of salespeople say that you have to push down on the pain buttons. If you don't push down on the pain buttons, people are not going to buy. People are more motivated out of fear of loss than they are out of a desire for gain. So is there anywhere in this process that I know it's talking to their heart and the rest of it, but heart includes pain.
Right.
So at any point in this process, are you asking questions to elicit the pain that's in their heart? Because pain is in everyone's heart.
I mean, it's just asking deep. I teach you in the book how to ask deep, open-ended, what I call third level questions. So, if we say, Paul, do you want to go to McDonald's with me? And you say yes, well, I learned nothing from you. And then if I say, well, why do you want to go to McDonald's with me? You say, well, because I like burgers. Well, I still learn nothing for you. But if I ask you, Paul, why is tell me why you think McDonald's is such a great place for us to go to today. You're going to reveal to me what's in your heart. And so what happens is people don't know how to ask questions. And the pain is absolutely true. I mean, there's a big difference between asking, hey, do you need help? Or asking someone, hey, can you tell me a little bit about what's your greatest challenge that you're going through right now?
Yes.
I mean, they'll just tell you forever. So what ends up happening is, I believe that, push this button and push that's theory. That's theory. At the end of the day, no one cares, what I'm going to say it, like, no one really cares what you're selling. All that matters is what you're selling something that benefits me, or that I believe that in my heart benefits me, and that I see value for. And unless you ask me the right questions, that my own buttons are pushed to say, oh, I see the value here, then I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to tell you, well, let me think about it. Let me talk to my wife.
Right.
Let me talk to our board of directors, because this works in transactional and corporate selling. So at the end of the day, those buttons are pushed by asking the right questions. So I'm not sure if I answered your question.
You answered the question.
Yeah.
You answered the question beautifully. And it seems to me, doing this approach, you really don't get into having to answer objections, because the objections don't arise, or they don't arise with the same strength. Is that correct?
Well, objections I teach are part of the process. So if you go through this structure where it's an intent statement, then what I call discovery, you're peeling the layers, and then at some point you do have to give the value. When you try to say, hey, are you ready to take the next process, you're always going to get an objection. So one of the things I teach you in the book is that objections are part of the process. You have to get objections. But here's the thing: most salespeople, they've been trained to talk through objections, power through objections, like you said, push the buttons through objections. That stuff doesn't work. Like, in the real world, that stuff doesn't work. That's just your ordinary salespeople doing ordinary number of sales to personalities that accept the pitch or the pushing.
I love that.
I don't teach you to sell. I teach you to sell to people that usually aren't going to buy from you. That's what the difference is. Anyone can sell.
By the way, pause. That would be a great subtitle or a great title. How to
Yes,
sell to
yes,
people who don't want to buy from you.
yes.
That's a
But
unique
that,
selling proposition.
but that's what makes a closer. So there's a difference between salespeople and closers. I mean, it's in the title. Why? Because salespeople are used to their 15, 20, 30, I mean, if they're good, closing rate, because all they're doing is they're selling people to people that like them or are like them and can take the pitch. But those people that they usually can't sell to, they'll give an excuse. Well, he didn't want to do it. Or no, those are the people that I teach you to sell to. I teach you through a structure of, at the end of the day, these people that you can't sell to, they're going to give you an objection. They're going to tell you no. And what makes a normal salesperson into a superpower is those people that say, "Oh my gosh, I just got no, great, let's just get started."
I love
Why?
that.
Because it's part of the process. If there's no, it's part of the process. So when that happens, ordinary salespeople say, "Oh, well, I don't want to pressure you. When can I call you back?" No, 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 no.
No.
A closer, through a structure, learns to overturn without talking, without pitching, learns to overturn that no into a yes by asking better, deeper questions where the buyer reveals the real reason for not moving forward. And then you're able to provide solutions to do that. So what I do is, again, I want you to, when Yoda, if you want to talk Star Wars, or if you're a Christian, I'm a Christian, if you want to talk Jesus, when they use superpower, they lose power. Like Yoda goes to sleep, Jesus, it says in the Bible, loses his power.
Yeah,
Why?
virtue
Because at the
flowed
end
out
of
of me.
yeah.
I
Why?
perceived the
Because
virtue flowed out of me.
yeah. So at the end of the day, when you're in a selling situation, it's easy to say, "Oh, well, okay, well, I'll call you back." What really creates a superpower is the ability to hang in there and say, "All right, I'm already with this person. I've already uncovered the need. I know that they want this. How do I get this yes and turn this no into a yes?" And that is the superpower. Because at the end of the day, you're going to walk out saying, "I can't believe I closed that deal." Why? Because those are the people that usually would not have bought from you. And that's what closing intelligence is. It's
Hey,
using intelligence questions to get the closing, get to yes.
I love this because you punched above your weight to get your wife. You punched above your weight to bat out of your league. Believe me, look at this face and this age. I have to punch above my weight, but it's so similar to dating because I always think any no I hear or any excuse I hear is just a cry for help to see the value that is me. But it's very similar. What you said, hold on, what you said, Oscar, when you said, "Oh, they have the weak response. Well, like, here's my number. Call me back sometime when you're ready." That's like the woman saying, "Well, give me your number and I'll call you." And you agree to that. You're out of the game.
Well, the first time we talked, Paul, we actually joked around about it, and I told you, yes, closing intelligence. So I do a lot of corporate training, and when I do the corporate training, I'll say, "All right, everybody's going to give me an oath." Because at the end of the day, what I'm teaching you, and I'm going to say it because I don't think it's a bad word, I'm teaching you a little bit on how to run around, you could say manipulate, work the situation
I
to
love
get
it.
to get the other person to say, "Yes, this makes sense." You're not pushing me to do something. I want to do this. I'm helping you in closing intelligence and trainings that I do to get past all the excuses in your life for you to delay action. That's all closing intelligence teaches you how to do. And we all have those excuses. "I can't afford it. It's too much. I don't want to date you. I have to wash my hair. Call me back later." I teach you how to say, "Okay, that's just human nature." In human nature, we're ingrained to give excuses to not take action in our lives. So I
Yep.
simply say there's a way to go around that. And so what ends up happening is that a closer grabs those objections and helps the other person overcome them by just kind of working the situation to them saying, "Okay, let's go." So something as simple as, I get that you don't want to go out on Tuesday. I get it. But besides the fact that you don't want to go on Tuesday, is there any other reason that I couldn't call you on Wednesday to, set something up? Like, I just basically threw aside their Tuesday. Do you see
Right.
how I did that? And
Yeah,
it's
of
just a
course.
skill
Of course.
that I teach you to do. So it
Of
works great in dating. And anyway, so what I was going to say is the oath that I make people take is, look, this works for business. This works for transactional sales. This works for selling $5 million satellites. But I want everyone to take an oath that you're not going to use it on your kids, on your wife, on your girlfriend, because it works. Because it works. I mean, I tell my daughter all the time, besides the fact that you're telling me this, is there any other reason we wouldn't do this? And she'll be like, huh, well, yeah, Daddy, we can do that. There it is. It wasn't that hard. So it works for all. It's life training. It's not
I
just sales
think
training, life training.
I'm going to go you one better for you.
All right.
I'm not going to top you. I'm going to give you a compliment. I really am. I could see that this would be a great structure for therapy, for a therapist working open. Have you ever had, this is a serious question. I know no one's asked you this before. Have you ever had a therapist reach out to you and say, I read your book and it's really helped me work my therapeutic modality. It's helped me ask the right questions of my clients. Because I could see this as someone who's a healer myself and has done a lot of change work through NLP. I could definitely see this structure working for doing change work, getting people to change on a personal level.
So that's a great question, Paul. And actually, I actually mentioned in the book that, I mean, a therapist or a doctor ultimately is trying to uncover, what it is that, you need, and then provide the solutions through the right questions. And therapists, there's great therapists and there's wonderful therapists. Those that are wonderful are able to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. So yes, I mean, I do have people that say, look, our therapists could really use this, because if they get better at uncovering the needs of our clients and get them to say yes to more therapy, absolutely, we can grow a lot. But I will tell you that I've had people tell me, Oscar, I use the structures in this book in business, but I used the structures in this book last time I was in an airplane, and what I uncovered from the person sitting next to me was ridiculous. So I say in the book, I've had people tell me they're about to commit suicide. I have people tell me that they're, thinking of leaving their wife. I have people tell me they're about to leave. Why? Simply because what I do, and this is why I kind of shy away sometimes from the podcasts, because in the podcast, I feel like I have to do the talking. But the reality is, in a real world situation in closing intelligence, I don't do any of the talking. Paul, if you and I were sitting together next to an airplane, I would be asking you questions like, Paul, tell me a little bit more about Ross Jeffries. Tell me why.
I would do the same thing to you. We'd never talk because I'd be asking you good questions.
But most people, Paul, don't do that. And that's why you are what you are. You see what I'm saying? That skill that you have makes you who you are. But if you can grab someone, for example, an engineer that's never had sales training, but is in business development, and you can teach them these skills, the things they can do in their life are ridiculous. Or if you can grab somebody that's an okay sales trainer, okay salesperson, and teach them these skills and they get better. But a really strong one can become literally a superpower. Why? Because instead of talking, they really are listening. And if you listen to a sales call or something of a company that I've trained, it's literally 90% of the other person talking. And the salesperson is really just going through a structure, asking the questions. Oh, what I'm hearing from you is this. Repeat that a little bit more. Hold on there. And which is no different than what you do in your podcasts. But yes, it absolutely works in the real world and in the real life to get people to want to date you, to want to be your friend, to want to buy something from you, or to want you to run their whole company. I mean, it really works in any aspect of life. It says, because yes moves the world. I'm not saying just in business, in the world in general.
Yeah.
If people don't say yes, nothing happens.
Yep, I agree. And on that note, I want to ask you, first of all, you've been a fabulous guest. You saw that I let you do the talking so.
I don't like doing the talking. That's just the funny thing. It's like I get on these podcasts.
But that's the point.
You're your guests and they talk and talk and talk. And
but that's my job.
I wish it was the other way around.
That's
go ahead.
My job. If you do a podcast, you can have me on. Okay. So I know my audience is really, really, truly, other than getting your wonderful book, Closing Intelligence, How to Get Others to Say Yes in Life and Business. I like the title, How to Sell the People Who Want to Say No. I like that one. But How do people stay in the conversation with you? In addition to now finding yourself buying Oscar's book, Naturally, Rapidly, Quickly, and Powerfully.
So, Paul, that's a great question. So obviously one is to go to Amazon and, you can buy the book. We have the audio book, we have Kindle, we have every version. You can also go to closingintelligence.com, but I'm going to do something that none of your other guests really do. You can write to me personally. I have no problem with you doing that. That doesn't mean that I'm going to answer every email, but you can write to me at oscar@closingintelligence.com. I have no problem receiving emails from people. It might take a while to get back to you, but feel free to reach out anytime. I wrote this book, honestly, Paul, to impact lives all over the planet. And so any lives that I can impact at the end of the day, I feel that that's my calling to, through something
Same
like
here.
to impact lives.
Same here. Sometimes I have to irritate people to get them to pay attention, and I love it. So on that note, Oscar, thanks for being on the show. We'll see you next time on the Influencer's Edge. Stay in the green room because I want to talk to you, young man.
All right.
And if I've offended any of you with my talk about seduction, it's my show. Tune into somebody else.
The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Rapid Sales Accelerator. If you're ready to skyrocket your sales by 30% or more in just 90 days, then you need to claim your free training right now. You'll learn 4 words that will compel your prospects to trust you like they were children within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any conversation across any platform in any medium. You'll learn how to give your prospects objection amnesia, to crush objections like, I need to talk to my spouse, or I need more time to think it over, or it's too expensive. And finally, you'll get a free recorded audio training that will install unbelievable attitudes for success and wipe out any limiting beliefs. So if you'd like to claim your free training now, go to www.paulrossbook.com. Do it before your competition does it now. Thank you for tuning in to the Influencer's Edge, where you get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques so you can leapfrog over the pack in sales, influence, and persuasion. Remember to visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com to enjoy even more great episodes like this one. We look forward to seeing you again on the Influencer's Edge Show.